Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear brothers. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. The translation reads like this. Good morning, Brother Nash. How are you? I want to confess that I was once an antichrist and I never believed in God. In fact, when I would hear people talking about Jesus Christ, I would feel so much hatred towards those people because deep down in my heart, I honestly believed that when you see someone going to church, if someone says that they are a Christian, it is because they feel guilty, because I believed that Christians, all of them, they are evil-hearted and they only know how to do evil. So when they go to church, they only do it so as to clear their conscience, so as to pretend as if they are good people, but deep down they are evil. So I chose to be someone who hated Jesus Christ. I considered myself an antichrist. And my grandmother, I can say that my grandmother was the reason as to why I was an antichrist, because of the things that she did. My grandmother made me to hate Christianity so much. My grandmother, she was a Christian. In our village, we used to have this only church, which was the Roman Catholic Church. My grandmother would go to that church. She will force us to go and attend the church. But my grandmother was really evil. In the village where we grew up in, my grandmother was considered to be the most wealthy because she was considered to be the most wealthiest woman in our village, because her kids were in the city and they used to send her a lot of money. And simply because she had kids that had made it in life, she considered anyone that was poor to be a cursed person. And but at the same time, my grandmother pretended as if she was always there for the poor people of our village. And this made the people at that Roman Catholic Church to give my grandmother a lot of responsibility in the village, because at that Catholic church, they used to bring this food in form of donations to the poor. That church was the one that was responsible of feeding the poor people in our village. My grandmother, whenever she would be called to church to come and collect, whether it is bread or any food, my grandmother would refuse to go and collect this food in the afternoon, because she never wanted to be seen going to church to collect this food. The reason as to why she would want to keep this food hidden in her bedroom until when the food will be bad, when the food will start to decay. That was when my grandmother will say, let us go and give this food to the poor. And because in our village there were a lot of poor people, they would gladly accept this rotten food. When it came to bread, my grandmother, maybe we would go and collect this food like today, then maybe 5 days later, when the bread will start to go green, my grandmother will say, come, let us go and give the poor people in the village this bread. My grandmother, she was really evil-hearted. She used to punish me a lot, and the way that she used to punish me is that she will starve you to death, but she will then prepare, there is that water that they give you when you have a running stomach, the one that is called salt and sugar solution. She will give you the water so that you won't die, but you will be starving. And that is the way that she used to punish me and my other cousins. As for my parents, they both passed away, and then I was raised up by my grandmother. There was this other day when I had returned back home late at night. I was really hungry. And when I went into the kitchen, I found out that my grandmother, she had left some food for me in the kitchen. She had prepared some soft porridge for me, but instead of keeping this food in a warm place or somewhere that was safe, she just dished this soft porridge in a plate and left this plate on the floor. And when I walked into the kitchen as I was starving, I then saw that there were some frogs that were eating this food that had been left behind for me by my grandmother, I felt so angry, such that I started to chase these frogs out of the kitchen, and I then killed some of these frogs, but some of them, they just disappeared. Immediately, I then heard that my grandmother, she was screaming in her bedroom as if she had seen me. She was shouting at me and telling me that I was evil-hearted because I had killed these frogs. The next morning, my grandmother woke up and she was angry with me. She then told me that she wanted to punish me for killing her children. Yes, indeed, she claimed that these frogs were actually her kids, and I had done such a bad thing that deserved a painful punishment. She told me to go and dig up a grave. So I went and I dug up a huge hole that was 2 meters deep, 1 meter wide. After I had finished digging up this grave without eating anything, my grandmother then said that I had to bury these frogs as if I was burying a human being. So we did it with dignity. She then took this other blanket that she had been given at the time when my mother had passed away. So on top of these frogs that I had buried, we then placed that brand new blanket, and this pained me a lot. Anyway, life moved on, my brother. That was when I found a woman that I got married to. She was a Christian, and I didn't like her being a Christian, so I banned her from ever going to church. She used to go to this white garment church, and I just hated anything that had to do with Christianity. I then gave her an ultimatum. I said, if you set your foot again in church, I am going to dump you. So she wanted to save her own marriage. She then stopped going to church. But my brother, I don't even know what happened, because all of a sudden I just fell sick. I was like really sick. Even the day that they took me to the hospital, I could feel it that my days here on earth, they were numbered. I was about to die. And when I would look at my wife, I had so much pain and sadness because she was still very young. Our child was still very young, and here I was about to die. I was then admitted into the hospital. When I was admitted in that hospital, that was when I had a dream. I saw my father. He walked into that hospital ward where I was admitted into. He then said, my son, oh my son, I have come to collect you because there is somewhere where I want you to accompany me to. Are you willing to go with me? So I said, yes, let us go. We then started to walk. And as we were walking, I didn't know where we were headed to. Then we reached this other mountain. I have never seen such a tall mountain in my life. We then started to climb up that mountain. Then when we were almost at the top of that high mountain, then my father showed me the other side of the mountain, and he said, can you see, my son? I said, yes, I can see, because I saw that in the sky there were dancing lights that were dancing in the night sky, and it seemed as if there was a city on top of that mountain, but on the other side. Then my father then said that when we reach to that place, that is our resting place, for in that place, that is where our ancestors are waiting for us, and they are waiting for the judgment day. And as he was speaking with me, I then saw that there were two men that suddenly appeared. These men, when they appeared, they were as bright as the sun. You could not look at them twice. These men, then they started to walk towards me and towards the place where me and my father were standing having that conversation. But my father, he got scared and he panicked and he started to run. So when I saw that my father was running away, I thought that these men, they were dangerous. So I started running, going down that mountain, but I fell down because this was the first time being in this mountain. When I fell to the ground, I could not wake up, and I then saw that these men, they were suddenly, that was when I saw these men, they were close to the place where I had fallen down. And when I looked at one of the angels, in his hands, he was holding these heavy chains as if they were about to take me as their prisoner. So I got so scared. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run, but I had no strength. These two angels, they approached me, and the one that was holding the heavy chains looked at me and he said, oh, we can see that God has showed his mercy upon your life. You were supposed to die. Do you know that you were supposed to die today? But because God has showed his mercy towards you, you are not going to die. But we have a mission for you. God has sent us to tell you that he has a mission that he wants you to complete. So the mission that I was given was that I have to go around preaching the good news, and I have to tell everyone about Jesus Christ. But my brother, I have failed to complete this mission because of several reasons. These two angels then handed me a book, and they told me that since I did not understand everything that was happening in that mountain, after the angels had showed me the other part of the mountain, which was hidden this side of the mountain, there was a burning lake of fire. So I could not understand everything that had happened in that mountain. But when they gave me the book so that I can swallow it, they said that everything was going to be revealed to me. But when I tried to push this little book into my mouth, the way that it tasted, immediately I vomited it out because it was bitter to taste. Like the example that I can give you, aloe vera. If you take aloe, then you mix this aloe vera with a chili, like the red chili, then you try to drink that mixture or to eat that mixture, you will never be able to do so. And that was the bitter taste. So I felt to eat that small book, to swallow it up, even though they had told me that in my stomach it was going to be sweet. But I felt, and after I had felt to do that, then I saw that I was back in that hospital where I was when I had started to have this dream, and I saw that I was hooked up to these oxygen machines and my life was about to come to an end. Then I saw an angel. This angel came and unplugged me from that oxygen machine, and I started to struggle to breathe. This angel walked quickly towards my bed where I was sleeping. But if I say that he walked, I will be lying, because he floated in air as if you take a balloon, then you place that balloon on top of the water, the way that it will float on top of the water. That is exactly what happened at that time. This angel just floated in the air and he came to the place where I was sleeping. Then this angel, he closed my nostrils such that I struggled to breathe. And the time when I found out that I could no longer breathe, that was when I woke up. And when I woke up, I saw that the angel had disappeared. There was the doctor and the nurse, as well as my wife. When I woke up, I was filled with joy and excitement, and I wanted to share this good news to the doctor. The doctor rushed to where I was. Then I told the doctor this thing that had happened to me, everything that I had seen, the vision. The doctor then looked at his machines and he said that my heartbeat, it was just too fast. I was about to slip back into a coma. So he spoke with the nurse, and the nurse gave me a very painful injection, and I started to fade away. For the doctor then said that I was still in shock. Everything that had happened, it was just a hallucination. So they stabilized me and they never believed me. But my wife said that she believed me. After I had woken up, my wife then said that she wanted to take me to her bishop. We then went to that bishop and I gave my testimony to that bishop, and I asked him to allow me to give my testimony at church the following Sunday. The bishop, instead, he was talking about how much he wanted to assist me and my wife financially, and he started to assist me and my wife, and he said that he wanted me to stay at the house where I am staying, which is one of his property here in Chisipiti, where we are staying, me and my wife. The bishop then said the reason as to why he was not going to allow me to give this testimony in church, it is because mine is a sensitive topic that cannot be told to anyone. It has to be kept as a secret. So we believed him. Then the next day after the church service, he said that me and my wife, we were supposed to go and wait for him by his car. So we went to his car, where his car was parked, and we waited for the bishop. He came with his wife and he told me to get into the car. He then gave me this other plate. You know, there are those wooden plates that they use in the White Garment Church, but it was full of water. He told me to hold it still and not to let the water spill as he was driving. We then drove to a place where there was a river here in Harare. And when we arrived there, he said that I was about to receive a secret baptism. No one was supposed to know about this baptism that was about to take place. He then told me to drink the water that was inside that wooden plate. So I did. After that, he rushed back to his car. I don't know where this water was coming from, but he kept on collecting water from his car and returning back with this wooden plate as it will be full of water. He then told me to strip myself naked. So I only removed my t-shirt as per his instructions. And then he started to wash me. He washed me in my armpits, and the water was falling back into that wooden plate, and he rushed back to his car, where he left this wooden plate that was full of that dirty water. After he had finished washing my armpits, we then went into the river where he baptized me. But from that day, my brother, after he started to assist me and my wife financially, I can say that that was when I started to notice that whenever I would wake up, I would have forgotten my dreams. I used to have a lot of dreams that had a lot of meaning, but I have since started to forget about my dreams. Sometimes what happens to me is that I can have a dream, then I would wake up. When I start to think about that dream, then I will just forget about everything. This is my own confession, Brother Nash. There is nothing that I can do about it, because this man, he is assisting me and my wife financially. If it was not for him, I don't know how I was going to be able to take care of my own wife.